Hey, what's up, guys? Dr. Jim Morgenstern coming at you here from Rubber City Chiropractic in beautiful Akron, Ohio. I hope everybody's doing great out there. And I just wanted to take a quick second to thank Alex for setting this up and inviting me to share your platform today for the next 15 to 20 minutes. As you guys see here off to the side here, I brought a couple different balls, and I want you guys to be familiar with what we're going to be using today in our mobility class. So today's class is focused in on what I like to call the big three. The big three would be the three most common areas of the body that I see that we could all improve a little bit on from our day-to-day sitting, standing, being at computers. And then if we are trying to combat all that sitting by actually exercising and doing better things for our body, these are things that we can do before and after either a long day or before and after a workout, or simply just to break up the monotony of, just sitting around all day. So it's great for you. Try to do it daily, and I'll kind of walk you guys through each area of the body. We're going to start with the glutes. So these old guys right here, and we're going to be using the dimpled softball. You guys can find these on Amazon, but unfortunately you can't buy them for anything less than quantities of 6, 12, 18, 24, etc. So we're going to use this first, and we're going to be using this for the glutes. And then off to the side, I've got a lacrosse ball and a tennis ball. Those are the areas of the body we're going to work with are going to be the shoulder blades. So in between kind of that area where we seem to slouch throughout the day. So right through here. And then finally, you're going to see that we have a spiky ball. A spiky ball is going to be together with the other two smaller balls, and we're going to do some work for the feet. So the three areas of the body are going to be the glutes, the shoulder blades, and the feet. So we're going to cover all that in about 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll try to keep a little bit of timer so we can go through and make sure that we're hitting them for the allotted amount of time. So if you guys are ready, we're going to actually sit on the floor here, and we're going to take the dimpled softball, and we're simply going to place it under either side of whatever glute's bugging you, okay? So a lot of times when I teach this class, I always just kind of say, hey, pick the side that's been giving you grief. There's some people who will feel like when they're walking, they feel like they're actually leaning towards more one side, so they don't feel like they're 50-50 between both feet. And so I would say start with the side that you feel like you've been having a little bit of issues with, or that maybe you're leaning towards that side. I do want you guys to do both sides, but the idea here is once you put the ball under the cheek, find the worst spot and meet me here, okay? Once you meet me here, actually I'm going to set a timer so we can kind of keep this within a allotted amount of time. Usually around 2 minutes is where I want you guys to start thinking like, all right, if I'm feeling like the area relaxed, then we can either stay for another minute or so, but everything I teach you guys is usually 2 minutes, nothing less, okay? So once you find your worst spot, meet me here, and then this is part 1 of 3. So if you can do this at least, most people can do this, we're actually going to take this knee, in this case my left knee, and we're going to bring it up towards the right knee, okay? And then we're going to bring it right back down, and we're trying to kill 2 minutes. So when I'm bringing it up, some cues are going to be to try to push your butt into that ball, and then at the bottom here, try to relax everything. Let everything relax so that leg's kind of weightless, and then we'll return it back up, and we'll come back down. And if you almost feel like that spot's starting to go away, for some people, if you've never done this before, it's probably going to be pretty tender. So stick with it. I've been doing this for years. That's why I can actually have a conversation with you guys while I'm doing it. For most people, they're going to hold their breath, which I would please advise that you don't do. I want you to, in fact, do the opposite. So try to breathe through it. For those of you who've gone through chiropractic before, for those of you who've gone through massage before, if there's ever a real sticking spot, that your practitioner is working through, they'll say breathe through it, okay? I'd say that's more for like the manual therapy or massage, but you want to make sure that you're breathing through it. So if you got a really nasty spot, stay there, big breath in, hold, exhale fully, and then hold the breath out. So they call that box breathing. You guys can do that in 4 seconds in, hold for 4, out for 4, keep it out for 4, rinse, repeat all the way through. I'm going to hop off this just to see. It feels like we're probably getting close to 2 minutes. We're actually about 20 seconds short, so we're going to continue this last 2 minutes. That way you guys can actually have, I don't have the technology to put like a 2 minutes up on the screen here, but you get the idea. Set a timer for 2 minutes, make sure you're going back and forth. That's position 1, okay? I'm going to do the next 2 positions just so you guys can have an idea how to do them, but I would definitely not going to go through 2 minutes and then 2 more minutes because there's actually 3 parts to this, but part 1 is plenty for you guys on day 1. Part 2 is going to be if you can get your leg up here. So all I did was I brought my leg from here to here, and then I got to cue you to do something different with this ball. If you leave the ball where it's at, you might find a spot that feels like it's getting some work, but I actually would have most folks tilt that hip down towards that ball. So instead of being upright, tilt down towards that ball. So it's in the glutes, or excuse me, the ball is in the upper outer part of that glute muscle. Then you'll find a spot that usually feels like it needs some work. And then again, we need to start finding movement at the hip. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this knee up close to our chin and then let it drop. It's only going to move about an inch or two. Bring it up, drop. I'm going to show you from a different view here. So all I did was I brought this leg up here, and then the movement is going to be here and then there. Here and then there. And a couple things too is just please don't let the posture slouch. I want to try to make sure you guys are, being a chiropractor, we've got to make sure we're keeping the spine in somewhat of our forefront of our brain, just keeping in some thought. I don't want you guys slouching and everything, so try to stay strong. I do want to take a moment and before we go into position 3 here, if you guys need a break on your wrists, take a break. There's no shame in just taking a break in between doing these. I know a lot of people want to just go 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes on all 3 positions. That's fine if you've been doing it, but if your wrists start to bug you, I don't want to trade a better feeling lower back and hip for painful wrists, because then you'll be reaching out to me for mobility tips on that. Position 3 is going to be, now we're going to transition to your side. Okay, so now the ball is going to be in the upper outer part of the leg. If you guys are familiar with the body, you might remember there's an IT band on the outside of the leg. If any of you run out there, or Peloton's become a popular thing. If you're not doing much stretching, I'm not saying it's good or it's bad, but if you're not doing anything after these workouts, these muscles will continue to get tight because you're working them out, but you're not spending time to lengthen them after the workouts. So I think this is a high, bang for buck, if you will. Get on this spot when I teach you how to get to it here in a second, and then try to let this one marinate. Let it kind of work through that 2, 3, 4 minutes. This one's super tender. So the first thing I want to cue you through is once you get on your side, you have to kind of wobble back and forth till you find a spot. I'm on my spot, so if you guys can kind of get on your spot too. The first thing the body's going to try to do is it's going to try to straighten that knee. It's kind of like a protective mechanism, if you will, because this hurts. So what will happen is if you straighten the knee, that'll push the ball out away. But what I want to do is the opposite. I want the ball to be able to sink in a little bit deeper. So unlock the knee, let it drop to the floor, and let your body weight kind of sink into that ball a little bit, okay? Be sure, once again, not to be lazy in the shoulder blades. Stay nice and strong. And the 2 areas of the body that we need to be strong with on this one, because we're going to start moving around, is the back leg. Make sure that it's nice and stable through the foot. And then make sure that we're stable through this elbow here, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to do what I call marches. So we're going to lift this leg just a little bit, as if I said, hey, hold it so I can put a piece of paper underneath your foot, set it back down, and then the back leg's going to lift, same thing. And then we're going to simply march back and forth for 2 minutes, okay? So part 1 was 2 minutes, part 2 was 2 minutes, and part 3 is 2 minutes. So if you're working on one hip, it's a 6-minute mission. And then I asked you to do both, even though you may not have an issue with the other leg, but trust me, both will reap even more benefits if you do them both. And that's going to be a total of 12 minutes. So just to keep it not too, not boring on this type of platform, because, there's going to be a lot of people who have different issues. Just try to know what you need, but make sure if you sit down to do this, try to do 2 minutes, 2 minutes, and 2 minutes. That way you get the full benefit there too. Okay, everybody seemed like they're got a hang of that one. So I'll do a quick review, and then make sure you guys, if I don't know if Alex is going to keep this somewhere where you guys can reference it back, but keep a timer, 2 minutes for each position. So position 1, one more time, basically getting into a position that looks like this, okay? So my ball's under the left hip, and then I'm going to move the left hip up into a position like this, and then let it come back down, and just keep going back and forth for 2 minutes. If that feels like you got some more work to do, then we'll transition up to position 2 if you've got the mobility prerequisites, and then we're going to bring it to a position like this, bringing it up here, letting it relax. And that's position 2, and then we'll transition right over to position 3, which will look a lot like this. Back and forth, back and forth. Okay? And even if you guys just did that one, I think that's so powerful. You get a lot of bang for buck. And even if you get up and walk around, which I would love for you guys to do right now while you're kind of, oohing and on and kind of recovering, make sure you guys, I probably should have went through this too. I hope you guys are properly hydrated. If you guys have, I don't know the crowd, but if you guys went out last night or, we're dealing with the Super Bowl, I'm filming this, and we're getting closer to Super Bowl time. So I wouldn't want you guys to do this if you're dehydrated. If you guys are not getting much water in, please make sure that you're getting plenty of water the days leading up to you doing this. I know you can't go back in time, but when you sit down to do this on the regular, if you're always becoming like super duper sore, I always make sure that the first thing you're checking off all the boxes as far as hydration, making sure you're watching your sugar, because that always inflames the tissue before. I'm not here to do nutrition talk, but make sure that we're doing all the right things to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success. If you're going to put time into doing something, I want to make sure you guys are getting the most out of it. I'm a huge fan of, if you guys are familiar with any of my stuff, by the way, you guys can follow me on social media at Rubber City Chiro. That's RUBBERCITYCHIRO. It's all one word. That's for Instagram and Twitter. And then, of course, on Facebook, Rubber City Chiropractic is the name of my office. But I'm easily, accessible. You guys can reach out to me anytime. Alex, I'm sure, can vouch for that too. But basically, I'm a huge fan of this company called Redmond's Real Salt. I don't get paid by them to do anything, but when I find good stuff, I share it. I think the neck hammock is also a great product for most people who slouch or at computers all day, but we can cover that in a different day. But Redmond's Real Salt's great because they made a product called Relight, RELYTE, and it has all your electrolytes right there, and it's sugar-free. So you don't have to worry about it, adding more calories if you're watching your sugars, or if you're, like I said, very inflamed. It's easy. But one scoop in water, I'll do it first thing out of bed in the morning. I feel amazing. I've cut back on coffee. I've loved coffee, but coffee doesn't love me back. And I think I'm over 325 days now without coffee, and that's no exaggeration. Before my workouts, I'll still do a little bit of something to kind of get me up and going, but I was kind of abusing, Panera had a thing where you could fill up your coffee for like $8 a month. Every day you could go in and fill it up as much as you wanted, and I took full advantage of that. So cut back on coffee. I feel amazing, but now I need that first morning like electrolytes just to kind of get my body like up and going. So what I'm saying is I don't get sore anymore from doing this stuff because I feel like I've kept my my hydration at ultimate. So remember, it's not just water. You got to make sure you have your electrolytes in there too. So reach out if you have any other questions about that. But that's Relight from Redmond's Real Salt. Okay, so if you guys are ready, we're going to transition towards the wall. I also kind of mentioned that we can do some of this for the mid-back on the floor too. So the balls that we're going to talk about next are going to be this lacrosse ball. If you guys have ever held a lacrosse ball, there is no give. It's very firm. It's a firm piece of rubber. Again, I can't find these anything less on Amazon than quantities of 12, 18, 24, 36. So if you go to like a local sporting goods store, like here in Ohio, we've got Dick's Sporting Goods, we've got a couple other places, you can get them, but they're a couple bucks for one. So I don't know if you guys, any of you out there are like into CrossFit or anything, but most of the CrossFit gyms have these there too. So, but also a tennis ball. So tennis balls have some give. Most of you have probably felt a tennis ball. So I want to give you like two options. If you're going to do what I'm about to show you on the floor, I please really recommend that you use a tennis ball. If you're putting all the weight of your body onto a ball, if you do something that has no give, I worry that you're going to start pressing on, structures of the spine, maybe even some ribs. And I'm not trying to cause issues here. I'm trying to actually help you with some of the stuff that might be going on. So if you're going to lay on the floor and do this, please use a tennis ball. If you're going to go to the wall, please use the lacrosse ball. And you can try the tennis ball on the wall, but most tennis balls, like at your house, for example, drywall, it'll slide up and down because it's got like a material that's very slippery. This is very rubbery, so it'll stay. It won't mark up your wall or anything, but it stays put. That way when you're working through some of these. So again, what we're looking for is some tight muscles that might be felt in between the shoulder blade. So I should say the height of the shoulder blade between like here to here, but on the back side, and I'll show you. And then try to find a spot in between your spine and that shoulder blade. So if I'm working on the right side, I don't want to be crossing over the spine every time because that's going to start pressing on the bones, and I don't want that. So there's probably about 2 or 3 inches that we can kind of work on. So I'll show you like a quick little look from behind here, and then I'll demo against the wall, and then I'll demo for the floor. So sorry, it's a black ball on a black t-shirt, but I'll flip it to this orange ball. So this is the lower border of my shoulder blade. This is the upper border of my shoulder blade. So pretty much anywhere from here to here is fair game. And if you pull your arm across you, that's going to take the shoulder blade and spread it, and now you got more room to work. Okay, so when I go against the wall, I just want to make sure you know that's where I'm going to work, and then I'll kind of walk you through a couple arm positions, and let's begin. So if you guys don't mind, for those of you who want to try against the wall, I think I'm still in view. I should be still in view. So if my head's cut off, just laugh at me. I'm going to just do a little awkward leg squat here. I can't remember how high I have the camera. So we're going to take this ball and we're going to place it. In this case, I like my right shoulder because it's always the one that usually gives me more grief, just like my left hip, right shoulder. So I'm going to candy cane forward off the wall. So my butt's against the wall. And I'm going to kind of start to peel off my neck and my upper back till the ball drops where I want it, okay? I'm going to redo this because there's a plug right here. So once you get it to where you want it, then we're going to bring the arm across, okay? So I've got this ball on my right shoulder. I'm going to bring the right hand and place it on the left shoulder, and then I'm going to pull the arm across a little further with this left arm, okay? So you see how I did that? I just took the arm across, and then I'm just reinforcing it here. So right now my shoulder blade is pulled. My right shoulder blade is being pulled out to the right, and I've got a lot of room to play, okay? There's 4 different positions here, okay? Number 1 is just a real small knee bend. So we're going to go down and then back up, slow, okay? Again, if you want to set a timer for 2 minutes, that's probably going to be as much time. I'm more or less going to like help you through, walking you through some of this stuff. And then when you're doing this at home, you know, because you could start doing this stuff and minutes will fly by because you're like, oh, this spot feels good, let's work here. Oh, this spot needs attention, let's go here. I will say at some point, if you're working 10 minutes per side, maybe start to wrap things up because I don't want you super duper sore where you can't do it again tomorrow. The idea here is long-term consistency outshines short-term intensity, okay? So we want to make sure we're working at this every day to try to break down some of these old patterns and old tissues that might be feeling stiff. So I'm going to just, step 1 is up and down, okay? Step 2 would be a lateral slide. So I'm going to go from that border of that shoulder blade and work my way back towards the spine. So if you kind of think of it, I made the upright up and down version of a cross, and then now I'm going sideways, or crosshairs, however you want to look at it. So that's position 2. Position 3 would be rotating as if like I'm a Christmas ornament or something like that. So if I had a string attached to my head, it's going to the ceiling. I'm just rotating back and forth. So that'll give you like a different stimulus. And the 4th and final one, which is probably the most important one, is just simply taking deep breaths in, pausing, deep breaths out, and then pausing. So that's that box breathing we talked about earlier. So what I'll do here is just one example. So we'll take a huge breath in, hold it. I'm going to try to press into the ball a little bit while I'm holding it, and then a full exhale, and then hold it on the way out. Keep it out, keep it out, keep it out, keep it out. Start over. You get the idea. That alone for 2 minutes would probably be amazing. If you're like, hey, I got a spot. Usually when we're stressed out too, we hold our breath. We tend to hold our breath in situations that are stressful. So you getting breaths in, breaths out as you're getting some type of release on those tissues might be amazing for you. So we'll try that too. One thing I wanted to note is when you're first placing the ball there, everything can kind of stay close to the wall. But as you find your spot, squeeze the butt off the wall. So that way, instead of your butt touching the wall, squeeze it off. That way you got all the weight from your feet up into that ball. And the idea here is if you want to make it more intense, you just keep taking steps forward, okay? So if you have your feet way out in front of you to start and it hurts, we'll back it up a little bit. That way you've kind of got a feel for like easing into it. And then, you know, where if you do this in a common place at home, you might even be able to kind of see, like if you have tiles, like how far you're kind of getting. And then over time, I'd like you to see you get a little bit more pressure if you need that and feeling comfortable with how to turning up the dial, so to speak, okay? So all I'm going to do now is go to the floor and show you the other version with the tennis ball, and then you'll have the idea how to bridge up and such. So hopefully everybody's got some clarity on that one. Hopefully you got a chance to try it if you have a ball or something to that effect. So I'm going to swap out the hard lacrosse ball for a more squishy tennis ball, okay? And I'm going to lay just on my back here and just want to kind of give you the idea how to get set up, okay? So I'll take the same idea here where I'll put the ball where it needs to go, okay? And then you have to kind of find your way over top of it. Take the same idea with bringing the arm across and then reinforcing with the opposite side here, okay? You don't have to be wiggling around or anything crazy. All you really need to do is if I said, hey, take your feet and just start to press them into the floor so your hips come off. The moment that your hips get off the ground, the majority of your weight's going to be placed into that ball. You should feel it right away. If I could hear you guys there on Twitch, you'd probably be like, ooh, oh, okay, that's where I'm at. Now I've got a squishy mat here. The reason I'm doing that is I'm filming this in this kind of a cool part of this gym that I work out of. I have an office here, but it's they just had an artist come do all this background artwork, and so this is actually in a part of a garage. So they haven't finished the floors yet, and getting nice and dirty for you guys here today. So if you do this on hard floor or a carpet, it's going to feel two different ways. So just kind of see what feels like you can bear here. So if I just simply take the hips up and place them back down, new breath in, kind of bridge up there. You don't have to be all the way up here, but obviously that's more intense than this. So I'm just going up off the ground for beginner's sake here, and then we'll come back down. A couple other things too is if you lift up and then you just pretend that you're looking down at your shirt like you spilled spaghetti, and then you place your head back down and then the hips back down. Or vice versa. You can look down first, bridge up, head back down, butt back down. And you can kind of create movement like we did for the hips there too. Some other things we can play with, because this is the shoulder blade, which is attached to the shoulder, which is the way that our arm is attached to our body. We can actually play around with reaching, what I'd like to say is around the world. So we can kind of work our way all the way around and kind of see what we need as far as freeing up some of those structures there, okay? So you can make complete circles, partial circles. You can even pause, and if I pretend that there was somebody also pointing their finger towards me, I could bridge up, and then I'm just going to draw tiny circles around whatever I'm imagining here. If I feel like I need something more for overhead or upper outer, I'll make some circles out there. You got to kind of play and see what you need, but there's no wrong way to do this. I just want to make sure you explore all these different movements there too, okay? So that's the option with the tennis ball instead of the lacrosse ball. Again, if you're really feeling like, hey, I want to get pretty aggressive with this, I mean, you can go to an advanced level and use the lacrosse ball, but I don't know your guys' like spinal mobility prerequisites, and there's a lot of people who are sensitive, so I'd rather give you guys like the foundation, baseline type stuff, and then you can turn it up from there. I don't know where you guys are tuning in from. I'm sure all over the world. So of course, like, reach out to me if you have any, like, hey, this felt great, Jim, or I have a question about this, or what have you. Always reach out. It takes me a while to maybe get back to everybody all at once. I mean, if I get 1 million people reaching out, I mean, I'm up for the challenge, but obviously, like, give me some time to kind of look through. And if you want to film stuff and send it to me through Instagram, totally fine. I'm not charging you for any of this. Most of the stuff I do anyways when it teaches for mobility workshops is totally just me wanting to show people ways that they can move better, and Alex asked me to do this, so I'm happy to do this for you guys, and then also just follow up with me as time goes on. I may not know you guys, obviously, in person. I don't even know who's watching this, maybe one person or 1 million, so reach out, and then that way we can kind of keep some momentum on your mobility journey. I have one final thing I want to show you guys. I'm going to probably have to move the camera somewhere so you can see my feet. But basically what we're going to need is tennis ball, lacrosse ball, and then this spiky ball. I haven't really highlighted it much, but it's a kinesthetic ball. You can find these on Amazon. I think you can find like 2 or 4 packs. They're a bit pricey when it comes with respect to like mobility balls, but if you get your own little mobility corner with these 4 balls, that's all you need. I mean, you can throw a foam roller in there. I'm not a huge foam roller per se for like what everyone uses foam rolling for, but there's some things that I can show you down the road too. But you can get so much done with these 4 different balls. But for the feet, we're going to use these 3. So we're going to start off with a tennis ball to kind of like warm and prep the area up. So I recommend you guys go barefoot here. Then we're going to just turn it up a notch with a lacrosse ball, and then we're going to finish with this spiky ball. Okay, so I think I might pause the video, move it down to a position where I can actually set it up so you can see my feet, and then we'll pick up there. Alrighty guys, so what we're going to do here, and pardon the hairy foot in front of you, but I'm just going to try to show you guys how to set up. Normally I would face a wall that would be in front of me, so this pole is actually going to be something I can hold on to, just a demo for the camera. But let me walk you through a couple things here. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to place the ball just below the knuckle of the big toe, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to shift the knee forward till there's some good downward pressure. And then the idea here is just to scrunch the toes and lift the toes. And we're going to run through about 2 minutes of that. Now, we're going to move it a couple times here, but just the idea that you're going to go back and forth, almost like I'm trying to crush the ball and then lift. And if you feel like you need more pressure, well, just shift the knee forward, and you can continue that journey right through there, okay? So down and up. Somewhere in there, after so many pumps, you're going to just move the ball maybe halfway through that midfoot. Again, compress by bringing the knee forward, and then now we're going to scrunch the toes, lift the toes, scrunch the toes, lift the toes, okay? Get the idea there. So run through, usually sets of 20 are really good there. I don't know necessarily about time because everyone's foot is a bit more or less sensitive. Then we want to transition it, so we've gone from there, somewhere in the middle, and you can make multiple stops along the way, but usually I'll do it in 3s. On the inside of this, almost where the heel bone meets this like soft tissue up under the foot, there's an area called the spring ligament, and we want to try to get in there and compress and then back off that. So I'm just bringing my weight forward, almost like I'm trying to pop the ball, and then I'll back out of it. So You have to play around with this one a little bit, but most people feel like this is super sensitive. The spring ligament is so important when we start to talk about the 3 points of contact. If I'm speaking a bit nerdy out there, when it comes to movement, you want to have good stability at each, obviously, of our feet, and the 3 points of contact are really our lifeline when it comes to doing things like running, working out for, let's say we're squatting, deadlifting, anything that we need stability. Heck, even just standing at work all day, you need a good, healthy arch. So what we're trying to do here is just work through the big toe, because that is definitely the linchpin when it comes to the gait cycle. So I'm going to take this away, but I just want to show you guys too. When we go to like heel to toe, if your toes don't do so much what they call dorsiflexion, if they don't lift off towards your shin very well, I think the recommendation is between I think they say the minimum is 20 degrees, but obviously 45 degrees would be wonderful. I've read multiple different sources. If you can get your big toe to be able to passively lift off at 45 degrees, that would be you're getting an A on that test, if you will. But obviously, for today's sake, we can kind of work through the other toes as well. But just for today's sake, I want to work through that big toe because I think it gives us, again, a lot of bang for buck when it comes to, transitioning back over to those 3 points of contact. So step one was the tennis ball. Okay, I'll leave that one there just so you guys can remember where we've been so far. And then step two is going to be the lacrosse ball. Okay, so sorry it's black on black again, but there's yellow ones, white ones. I just happened to grab this one out of the bin. Same idea. We're going to start it right under the big toe knuckle. Bring the knee forward, and then you'll find that you have less room to move forward because now this ball has no give. So we'll go through and we'll scrunch the toes, we'll lift the toes back and forth. Reps of 20, whatever it is you guys can stay consistent with. Just give me a 1 Mississippi at each position, okay? And then again, we're going to slide the ball to midfoot. Keep the heel on the ground, shift the knee forward. Again, that's about all I can get. Ooh, and that is super tender, but it feels so good, especially when we're done with it, okay? Roll through about 20 more reps of those. And then we would finish in that spring ligament area. And with a harder ball, I almost like to have both hands on the wall, and I'll really put some good weight on that ball. And then I'll do what I call shimmy. We'll kind of shimmy back and forth like we're scrubbing that heel, or at least the inside of that heel. And then I'll take a break, maybe move it around, find a new spot. And there we go, kind of clean that up. And you should be spending about 2 minutes per ball here, okay? So we'll set that one there so you guys know that we've accomplished tennis ball, lacrosse ball. The third and final ball is going to be this Green Kid aesthetic ball. Again, you guys can find these on Amazon. You're not putting much weight on it, but the idea here is just to clean up the bottom of the foot for a good 1 minute, okay? Kind of go to all the different corners. I know we worked on the big toe path all the way to the heel, but we want to try to make sure we're working on all those little toes that throughout the week, they get kind of slammed up in your shoes. And ladies out there, if you're wearing shoes that come down to a pointy tip, none of which are going to help you long term, but I get it. The shoes look cute and they go with your outfit and whatever. But when you get time, you get home later, give those puppies some love, man. Make them feel good. And this is just easy 1 minute, okay? So in review, we went tennis ball for 2 minutes, lacrosse ball for 2 minutes, and then we use this kinesthetic ball for at least a minute. And then when you're done with 1 foot, go walk around. I'm not going to walk around this gym right now because the floor is not really, there's probably nails and stuff that I'll step on because they just redid the lighting. But, see how good it feels, move it around, and then, of course, do your other side. But if you do one side and then you don't do the other side, you'll feel the difference because, obviously, this foot's been stimulated for 5 minutes now. And we want to make sure that we just kind of see how these things feel, and if they give you some type of benefit, well, then keep doing them, okay? I'm going to move you back to a different position so we can wrap things up. Just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in today. I really appreciate your time. Again, if you guys want to follow along with me on social media, at Rubber City Chiro on Instagram and Twitter, and then Rubber City Chiropractic on Facebook. Reach out to me. Let me know how today's mobility workshop to help you out. Remember, we covered the hips, so give me some feedback on that. If you guys want to shoot any videos, seeing if I'm, can coach you through some stuff. Obviously, there's no charge for any of that stuff, but just if you're asking if you're doing it correctly, or if you just want to simply give me some feedback in text, or if you want to shoot me a video and just give me some feedback, I would really, really appreciate that. And then, of course, the shoulder blade stuff. Everyone's got different postures, so if you're someone out there who's had, a bit of a kyphotic curve, or if you have some scoliosis scoliosis, work in different parts of that mid-back to just see if there's some spots that need more love, if you will, more areas that need worked on, and just try to stay consistent with it. And same thing with the feet. You know, a lot of people, if they're out of alignment in their hips, or if their chiropractor or PT is always saying, hey, you got a longer leg on one side or a shorter leg on the other, I'm sure they don't actually mean that you have an anatomically longer or shorter leg, but when these pelvic bones shift out of place, if I put a scale under each of your feet, you're not 50-50, you'll be 60-40. Therefore, that hip, that knee, that foot are all going to be bearing more weight, even if you're just simply standing still, but not even deciding if you're going through running or if you're squatting or if you're, you know, hip hinging for deadlifting or kettlebell swings, what have you. So anything, you know, that I can do to kind of help that, you know, I'm going to try to show you guys, and I just really appreciate the feedback. So one more time, I want to give a shout out to Alex. Thank you so much for letting me share your platform today. I hope this was of benefit to you and your friends here on Twitch. And if there's anything that you guys would like me to do in the future, let me know. I'm always happy to film these for you. And other than that, Dr. Jim signing off. Hope you guys have an awesome day. We'll talk to you soon.